Hello friends, this is Reza Rad from Radacat. In this video I want to talk about how you can create snapshots from your Power BI data, from your semantic model, from the tables, from the columns, even from your measures that you have written some DAX calculations. You want to create snapshots of these on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, depending on the timeline, and you can then save it into SharePoint as CSV files or as a database table. I'm going to show you how this is going to work. Let's jump into this video. Creating snapshots from Power BI data was never an option. Power BI gives you the view of the data as of now, like whatever you have in your data source, in your database, you see that as of now. But what if you wanted, for example, to save this data at the end of the month, because the data changes, then at the end of the next month, come and compare them together, create snapshots of these data on a timely basis. Now, when you get data from a fully fledged warehouse with the star schema, fact tables, dimension tables, these timelines are built in that structure. So if you want to get data at any point of the time, even from Power BI, you would be able to do that. However, in most of the cases, we don't have that data warehouse built in that way. You are just building a Power BI report and you want to save this data, snapshot of this data somewhere so that you can refer back to it. Now, we didn't have this option previously in Power BI. Now, with the combination of few Fabric elements, you can actually build this. These elements I'm going to talk about are actually the Dataflow Gen 2, because it gives you the ability to export data into a destination, such as a SharePoint folder, such as Lakehouse Warehouse or Azure SQL Database, combined with Pipeline, which gives you the ability to run that data flow and pass a parameter value to that data flow. Combination of Pipeline, parameter, and data flow together can build actually magics in the world of ETL, data integration, data transformation. I have already built, recorded a couple of videos about it, and this is the third one I'm going to talk about. In this one, I'm using this scenario. So we'll connect to a data source such as Power BI semantic model. We'll get the data, we'll extract it, and we'll export it as different files with the timestamp as the file name. So let me show you this. Enough talking, going to the demo. So I'm going to build this from scratch. First thing you need to know is that this is going to use Fabric features. So you need to have a Fabric license, Fabric capacity enabled, your workspace to be associated with that Fabric capacity. I have a F2 capacity that I've already connected to this workspace. Then the next thing is that I'm going to connect to an existing Power BI semantic model here. So here I have plenty of objects and some Power BI semantic models. Some of these Power BI semantic models, I want to connect to it. Now, in workspaces in Power BI or Microsoft Fabric, you have this workspace settings that whenever you go there, under the license info, you'll see, you'll see this connection link. Connection link would be the direct connection to your workspace that you can connect to it, and you'll see all the Power BI semantic models that you have within that workspace. This is also called as XMLA endpoint. It's not a new feature. It's not a Fabric capacity only feature. Even with Power BI Pro, you would be able to use that. But the rest of the things I'm talking about are Fabric only elements. So I'm using that connection, and then I'll go and create a new Dataflow object. And I would generate Dataflow Gen 2 because that is the one that gives me the destination option. I'm going to call this Dataflow, let's say Dataflow get data from Power BI. I think I already have this, so I would also add 10th of October as the date in it. I have already built an example like this, but I'm going to build it from scratch again. So Dataflow is a Power Query object. with Dataflow, similar to what you do in Power Query in Power BI Desktop, you connect to multiple data sources, you get data from those data sources, you do transformations if you want to, and then you export it into a destination. So I'll go and say get data from a data source. There are plenty of data sources like the data sources that you see in Power Query in Power BI Desktop. I want to get data from Power BI data source. Power BI data source is similar to analysis services data source. And when I search for that, I'll find this Azure Analysis Services. I'll click on that. This asks for the server path or server URL. And this is the path that we just copied from that workspace XML endpoint. So I'll copy this here. I have not connected to any of the semantic models yet. I just connect that, and for the connection settings you need to use organizational account because this is the account that has access to that. When you click on next, this will scan that entire workspace and find that we have all of these different semantic models in it. And then we can choose which semantic model we want to get data from. Let's assume that I want to get data from this semantic model. I'll expand that. Under that, I'll see the model. Under that, I would see the tabular model. And under that, I'll see the dimension tables, fact tables, which are represented like this. Now, if I want to go and build any query in here, I can just go and choose the columns that I want. I can say, for example, give me the sales value. Also year-to-date sales, in case I want to do that as well. And I say, well, I want this information by the full name, English education. Let's also get the gender of the customer. In addition to these, I would also add a couple of date values in here, things such as, for example, calendar year, English month name, and day number of month. So as I'm building this, you see that this built like a table with all of these fields in it. From the dimensions, even they are multiple dimensions, because in that semantic model they have relationships. I don't really need to merge them together here. This builds that connections and show me the result. So I'm actually querying data from that semantic model, right? So once I got that, I'll click on create. This builds the table for me with all the data. Now I just want to export this. And don't worry about the actual data in this case. This is just a sample data. You can connect to any semantic model. You can build any table combination of columns, measures, fields that you want from different tables. Once you build this, then you can go and say, I want a data destination. And this is the important part of it, because you want to export it into a destination. There are different destinations options available. We can have like Lakehouse, Warehouse, Azure SQL Database, SharePoint, and more destinations are coming. SharePoint is one of the most recent one, which I'm going to use in this example. Now, before using the SharePoint, I'm going to create a parameter here. And the purpose of this parameter, which I created like this, the purpose of creating this parameter is to use it as a file name. So this parameter, I'm going to call it file name, is going to be the actual file name that generates as an output. It is going to be text data type. And I can, for now, just call the value of that something like this, file name.csv. So it would be something like this. But my goal is to create a file name with format like this, 2025, for example, month 10, year 10. I might even have like hour as whatever hour it is right now, minutes, seconds, something like that, right? So that you get an idea. This is the type of thing that I want to build, but I want to build it using the parameter that I'm passing from pipeline. So I click on OK here. Now this is already built. I'm going to the model table again, and I set that data destination. I would say it is SharePoint destination. Now I'll paste my SharePoint website root path. This is something that You don't need the entire SharePoint URL, you just need the part that is the main website path. So I'll copy that, I'll come here and paste it over here. Again, you set your organizational account because this is the account that have access to that SharePoint website. In that SharePoint website, you might have multiple folders. You'll go and choose which folder you want this destination to be, this output file to be generated. I say this folder. And then I can put the file name directly here, or I can say, no, I want it from a parameter. And then I go and choose that parameter that I created. So whatever that value of the parameter is going to be, that value is going to be used as the name of the destination file. Then I click on next. This is a CSV comma separated value file. These are the mapping of the data source to the data destination. I wouldn't change anything. I'll just say save settings. So I have created a data flow so far. It gets data from a Power BI semantic model, the table that I built, including columns, measures, whatever. Then it exports it into a CSV file. That file name is going to be generated using parameter. Now I'm going to enable this feature in Dataflow, which you can find it in Home tab. In the Home tab under the options, here you have to go and enable this parameter execution to be the parameter values to be discovered and also overridden by another object outside of this, such as pipeline. So I'm going to do that. At the time of creating this video, this is something that is not on by default. You have to check it. In the future, it might be on by default. So I'll click on OK. Now my data flow is ready. I'm going to save and close it. I'm not running it yet. Save and close it. Now the goal is that I want to run this from a pipeline. Pipeline is an object in Power BI, in Microsoft Fabric. I'm used to saying everything Power BI. In Microsoft Fabric, that gives you the ability to orchestrate things around execution of data flow. It executes data flow. It does a lot of other things as well. So I'm going to create a pipeline. This pipeline, I'm going to call it pipeline export from Power BI 10 October. And I'm going to build a really simple pipeline. So I'm not going to build tons of activities, just one activity, and that is execution of that data flow. So I'll go and choose a activity, data flow activity. In the setting of this data flow activity, I'll choose my workspace that I have this data flow in it, and then I'll go and choose this data flow. This is the one that I've created just a few seconds ago. Then it detects that this data flow has parameters. I'll expand it. It shows that it has a file name parameter. I can pass this value here. I can change it, for example, to be 11th, and this would run as a 11, or 10th, it would run as a 10th. But I don't want this to be static. I want just this to be dynamically generated based on the system date. So what I'll go and do is I'll delete this, and I'm going to use this option at the bottom. You see, add dynamic content. When we use that, we can write expressions that generates this value. So my goal to generate an expression here is to generate an expression that gives me date and time in a text format that generates a CSV file name. I'll go to the functions. There are different functions. I'll go and use date function UTC now. So this gives me, if I click on this evaluate expression, this gives me the date and time as of now, but that is a date and time format. It's not a text format. I'm waiting for this to be evaluated, and you'll see what I mean by date and time format. Well, normally it shouldn't take this much long time. I have that expression to generate it in a text format that I can run, but let me just close this one and evaluate it again. Yeah, here it is. So you see this is a date and time format, but it has dates section and time section. Now I want this to be converted to a text. So I'll start, instead of this, I'll start with something like a format datetime function. Format datetime will format it in a way that I want. So I can get this format, and there are different format strings that you can apply. And the years can be fetched with this character, month with capital M, days with D. Then I can say the time section part of it is hour, minute, lowercase m is minute, and then s. So this is like year, month, day, hour, minute, second. And if you want, for example, this to be generating month name instead of month number, you can press 3 M's or 4 M's here. I'll evaluate the expression, you'll see what this generates. So it generates something like this. For example, if I go and change this instead of 2M to 3M, then the evaluation would give me a 3-letter month name. If I use 4M, it gives me full month name. You can play with this. These are default format strings that you can find in Microsoft documentation. I'm going to use just the 2-digit structure of the month number. Now, in addition to this, I want to concatenate it with a CSV file because I'm generating a file name here. So I'll say under string functions, concatenate this with .csv. So the result of this is going to be an actual file name like this. So, and every time I run this, this is going to be a different file name because the second is going to change. So this is the expression. I click on OK, and this expression is going to be used as the source of that data flow. I'm going to run this data flow. This is going to take a little time, especially because I haven't filtered that data at all. It is connecting to that Power BI data source. It is passing the parameter value, which is going to be that particular date and time formatted in a string value, passing it to that, and then the output should be written in that CSV file. When I click on this input, I actually should see what this value sent looks like. So the file name that we expect to see is something like this. Now, while this is running, and I have actually created other files before this, these are past files, but this time I'm running it, it should generate new file. While this is running, I have to explain to you that this solution is not just for getting data from Power BI semantic model. Even if you have an Excel data source, even you have SQL Server, any data in any sources you have available, Dataflow can connect to that. You can build whatever transformations you want, whatever table structure you want, and then extract that as snapshots of data. So it doesn't have to be Power BI. I explained to you as a Power BI sample scenario, but it could be any data sources. When you get that data, you do exactly the same process like this. You create a parameter for the external file name, and pass that parameter from the data pipeline. Now, we could even generate that parameter directly from Dataflow itself. So we didn't really need it to do this from pipeline, but running it from pipeline has some other benefits. Like, for example, you can put it in a loop structure. I have explained it in another video, that generates multiple files at the same time. You can pass this value at the same time to an email that you are sending and saying that this file or this snapshot has been generated. Having it in here gives you much more flexibility around execution, whereas having it in Dataflow, you just generate that file and that's about it. Okay, the job is almost finished, but I'm not going to wait for this to show it in this file, because other files is also the same. If I go and open any of the other files, they will be something like this, having all the fields generated output in a CSV format, which then I can use it for another analytics or anything else that I want. And each time you run this, this is going to generate one file each time. Or if you want this to generate one file every day, instead of having the time portion of it, you get rid of the time portion, only keeps the day part of it, and when the file exists, it would overwrite it no matter what time you run it. Or if you want it on a monthly basis, weekly basis, you just build the format that you want. If the file exists, it would overwrite it. If it does not exist, it would generate that file for you, and that is how it builds that timestamp extracted data from Power BI or any other data sources that you want. This combination of parameter, data flow, and pipeline together can do a lot of interesting things. I have explained in another video how you can use it to extract each year's data to a different CSV file in a SharePoint. You can go and check it out too. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe into our YouTube channel. We have weekly videos about Microsoft Fabric and Power BI. I'm Reza Rad. Until the next video. Bye.